All right. Well, I am very, very pleased to introduce two guests today that I will be discussing their two phenomenal, fantastic, amazing books that are coming up at the same time that have some overlap, but not entirely. So, yay, I'm very excited. First and foremost, we have Sope Martins, Nigerian children's author, founder of the Kidlit Foundation, which does everything from hosting Lagos's largest children's literature and storytelling festival to building KLF box libraries that bring books into orphanages and hospitals, and is also the author of Hairstory, which is out on shelves right now. So thank you so much for joining us. And then all the way across the ocean, in Brooklyn, we have Sean Qualls, who has collaborated with everyone from Questlove to himself, tending to write and illustrate books that explore history and culture, and just picture books and covers of novels for adults and all sorts of things. So welcome, Sean, as well, particularly because you are the creator behind Fros, Fades, and Braids, which is also out right now at the same time. So both these books talk about Black hair, but both these books also talk about history in a very significant nonfiction informational way, but different areas of the globe are covered with the history of hair. So just to start us off, I would love to know where these books even came from. Sope, can we begin with you? Where did Hairstory come from?
Oh my goodness. It is a long and sprawling story, so to cut it short, it came from my days spent at the hairdressers and from my culture. So I'm Yoruba in Nigeria. And one thing that we do is we are a storytelling people. And so I wanted to find a way to kind of introduce Yoruba cultures across Nigeria and across Africa, but through something that was shared. And hair, it was hair.
All right.
Yeah, so that's
it is short and sweet. Well done. Sean, how about you? Where did this come from?
As you said earlier, I've illustrated a lot of nonfiction titles, and I found myself getting the same sort of book over and over again, and I was sort of getting tired of illustrating the same story, and I wanted to do something that I felt was very personal for me, but also something that I felt hadn't been done before. And I was thinking about subjects, and Black hair came to mind. I don't know if it was partially inspired by the Chris Rock documentary Good Hair.
I wondered about that. Yeah, Good Hair.
But hair is a subject that's for most Black people, if not all Black people, it's always on our mind. And back when I wrote this, I had significantly more hair than I have now. That said, I've had a very long hair journey since my early days in elementary school up until now. And I just really wanted to do something that I could connect with on a very personal level, and something that hadn't been done, and something that was really going to feed my imagination.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way of putting it. Neither of these books have ever been done, at least in the American publishing, with actual American publisher sphere. I have never seen anything cover any of this information. Interestingly enough, Sope, I would consider your book nonfiction, but my library has been putting it in the picture book section because there are sort of picture book elements to it, which I thought was interesting. But I'm quite fascinated with the historical aspects because you both do them incredibly well. So can you tell me both a little bit about the research you did? How did you find the information for the books that you wrote? And Sope, we
Should I go first? Okay.
Yeah.
So mine started, I did quite a bit of research for this. it kind of started locally, very organically, by talking to my friends and family members, sharing our stories of what we remember about hair. And some people I know are hairdressers. And so it was getting those stories first, seeing what I could get from them regarding Yoruba culture. For example, the fact that, we have hairstyles that are named and have very colorful stories behind them. Then I kind of went wider because I knew that what I was looking for was connection, right? So connection across the continent. And I one very great resource that I actually started off with was Emma Dabiri's "Don't Touch My Hair," or I think in the US it's published as Tangled. So Emma Dabiri, she's a Nigerian, Irish Nigerian, and if I'm not mistaken, and that book was such an eye opener, and it got me to research different journal articles, watch videos. I just kind of went far and wide. I Anything that I thought, oh, this is interesting, I kind of went deeper into it. So I went from I actually have a list of resources that I used on my website because it was quite a lot. But yeah, I would say that I started off with just talking to people. Then I went into newspaper articles and blogs. Then I went into books. So Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri and Hairstory by Ayanna Bird and oh, I've completely forgotten the second author. And then from there, I went into the more academic side of research. And there was a lot of information I came across, and I'm pretty sure like about 5% of it made it into the book. That's how it is with research. But yeah, what I'm hoping is that whoever reads this gets interested, finds that spark, wants to know more, and goes off and finds their own stories about hair.
Yeah, well, and then I should point out you've got some good back matter here, which goes through, Yoruba hair and Maasai hair and Himba hair and just but like you say, you can only do so much because it's for kids, so you have to kind of cull it down to the essentials. But it's just such a great section at the back there. So yeah.
And because it was Hairstory, oh, so sorry. I just want to say, because it was Hairstory, I wanted to focus on the hair itself and the hairstyles, which is why we do have that back matter with all the different tribes. If it's about connection, what connects them? It's the way they look at their hair. It's it's the way we look at our hair. It's how we style it and what those styles mean as well.
Yeah. Is it coming out in Nigeria as well, or is it just coming out in America?
Not yet in Nigeria.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the publishing industry of Nigeria. So I was curious. All right. Sean, what about yourself? What was your research journey here?
Well, I initially it was like I mentioned, the various things with the Chris Rock movie Good Hair was really a creative spark, and from there I read numerous biographies. Biographies of Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone, who were the two women who really launched the black hair care industry, who were actually competitors. Yeah, Annie Malone's not very well known, but she actually started her hair care business before Madam C.J. Walker. And Madam C.J. Walker was her employee. And I've heard someone say that Annie Malone should really be the more famous one, but Madam C.J. Walker just had better press. Which I think Madam C.J. Walker lived a very big life. So just digging into biographies about her and her hair journey, and I think she was someone who was very, very aware, even back then, of branding. So her whole sort of take was about her hair products was telling the story of how she became interested in hair products. She never mentioned that she worked for Annie Malone, but she did mention, oh, I had this issue with my own hair, and through trial and error, I found different formulas that really helped me regrow my hair and grow it longer and stronger than it had before. In addition, I also Hairstory, which is an amazing book that you also Sope mentioned, and what else? Garrett Morgan biographies. Garrett Morgan was. It's kind of not quite clear about who initially created the first hair straightening formula, but he was an inventor. He invented the gas mask. He also invented the three-way traffic light, and he was searching for a way to thread sewing needles, make the threading of sewing needles easier. And he came upon a formula that really sort of helped break down the thread in such a way that he applied it to hair and straightening his own hair. And then realized he had something going on. And so from there, he actually, his hair straightening formula became a way for him to fund a lot of his other inventions as well. And then just a variety of resources online, and some that aren't necessarily documented in literature. I'm not sure if this one's documented in the Hairstory or not, but there seems to be some speculation about who actually invented the Jerry curl. There's this man, I believe his name is Willie. It's not coming to me right now. So there was Jerry Redding, who's been given credit as inventing the Jerry curl. And there's another man, Willie Monroe, I believe, who said he created the Jerry curl back in the early 70s as a way for Black men who were in the military overseas to take care of their hair because they didn't have barbers over their availability to hair products. So he created what he called the California curl as a way of helping Black soldiers take care of their hair overseas.
I did not know that. Well, and part of what I love about the book so much is that you do the history, you talk about the controversy, but you don't pass judgment. You're just giving the history of each style of hair, which I think is important, and which I think a lot of people avoid in children's books because they're like, well, it's controversial. We don't want to get into that. And so, and you just go straight into it, which is fantastic.
I felt like it was important to tell the story as fully as possible to establish trust with the reader, but also to really cement how important and how much a part of American culture and history this story is. That said, I didn't want to linger on any one part for too long, but I really did want to give an overarching view of something that's really a significant part of our history, that's sort of like an unspoken part of our history too. It's still like a very mysterious subject. And I think it's fantastic now that there are so many different books about Black hair that are coming out. And I'm really happy to be part of it and have my book be part of it also.
Yeah. Well, and also I just say it real quick before we move on, but I really like how when you do show historical hair, you always have, almost always, someone contemporary, like, you know, here's the afro, here's Questlove, you know, so it kind of ties that in for kids who are like, I don't know who Angela Davis is, but they may know.
And hopefully, and the thing I love about nonfiction, I'm sure you're similar with this, Betsy, is that nonfiction for me is, I think, a great launch pad for people. So if they don't know who Angela Davis is, there's so much written about her, and hopefully they'll be fascinated by Angela Davis or someone else, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Shakpe, you were actually touched on a question I was going to have, but I'm just going to go back to something that you said earlier about the
Huh?
sheer amount of research, and you could only use so much of it. So, how much like did you have to cut out, and what did you lose that you were particularly sad to lose? Was there something that where you were like, "Oh, this is going to be great in the book," and then ultimately it just didn't fit for some reason? Um, I know it's a hard. I should have sent these before.
That is what a question. I love it. Okay, let's see.
I love process. So
Mm, what was I like? Dang, how can I keep this in? Okay,
I can direct it to Sean and come back to you if you like. Yeah.
I would say, okay, so I read this really interesting journal article about like hair deracing, and it was talking about the Dominican Republic and what what actually the markers that's are used when it comes to determining race and how hair was a part of that. So you can have somebody whose skin is fairer than and there was this case study about sisters, and one of the sisters had fairer skin and than her sisters, and but her hair, it was by her hair that they measured her race. You know how curly or coily the hair is that, and I was like, oh man, I would love to put this in, but it didn't fit the story I wanted. I
Right.
was trying to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you got to make another book now.
I'm telling you,
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. So we're gonna
that's
need.
the only choice.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Sean? Was there anything you had to cut out that you were like, ah?
Well, back to the Jerry curl, more of that story and sort of the debate on who created the Jerry curl. I got really fascinated with, but because a lot of it cannot be substantiated, I really sort of truncated that part. But I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and the 80s and into the early 90s, the Jerry curl was a big part of our culture. My on my father's side, my uncle Ronnie's a hairdresser, and he created what he called the Q curl, which was like the Jerry curl, but the curl was more in the shape of a Q, he said. So it was really a big part of our culture here. And I wanted to do more on that, but there wasn't really a lot of factual information to substantiate that. And then also just, I would have loved to talk more about the economics of hair care and hair products, how much of an impact it has on our economy in America, how much what it says about us culturally and how we value our hair. So yeah, just for spacing and story flow, I didn't really get into those, but I would say the economics was probably the most fascinating part of the research.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a Q curl? I have to ask.
So no, I did not. I was not interested in the Q curl. However, I later changed my feelings about the Jerry curl, and there was a kit that you could get at the drugstore called the S curl. So I had my sister put the S curl in my hair, so I had an S curl for a little bit.
Okay, so that went well. Okay. Good.
Who knows? I look back at pictures. I don't know that it went that well, but hair has been an ongoing struggle my entire life. So I'm very happy actually to have very little hair on the top of my head right now.
Excellent. So again, I love process, so I'm going to ask you another process question. So when you were first working on these books, how much did your like earliest drafts resemble the final product? Like what changed along the way, either from your point of view, from your editor's point of view, your art director's point of view? Like how much is it the same.
Mm. Should I go first with this one?
Yeah.
You must have seen my face change because
Yeah.
it is
Oh, I did.
not,
I'm very interested now. Yes.
it's nothing like when it first started out. So when I first my first draft, let's start with my first draft. I was okay, so confession, I was determined to make this rhyme. I was determined it was gonna rhyme no matter what. And despite all of the feedback I got about the rhymes, I was like, nope, still gonna be a rhyming book. Uh, until I met Caitlin, who was my editor for this, and Caitlin was so gracious and was my mentor on this program. The word editor, writer editor mentorship program, and Caitlin was like, "We're gonna need to lose the rhymes," and then she asked me certain questions about the kind of story I wanted to tell. And because when it first started out, like I said, I wanted to tell this, I wanted to talk about, it was really about stories, and it was about stories and community and culture and passing down stories through our hair. And so that was kind of where I went first. And I had all of these big ideas. I wanted to be it to be about, mothers and daughters, and how it's passed from young to old, to from old to young to old, which is a line that's like the only line that made it into this final version. That's the only line. And then I also wanted to do make sure that there was this kind of concrete information there. It was trying to do too much. And so Caitlin was like,
Right.
what do you want it to do? What's the story you want to tell? What is the information you want to communicate? And so I had to sit down and really think about what I was trying to do. And I was like, I want to tell a story about different cultures, different tribes, different communities, and how hair has been a part of their history, their identity, their lineage, and so many different things. How hair is Sean, you talked about it. It's a conversation that can never end because it is everywhere. It is everywhere. It has influenced, it's got its strands everywhere. And so I was like, how best can I show that? And that is when I decided to, okay, we're gonna make it free verse instead of rhyming. And yeah, we ended up with this. So I ended up with like, okay, I'll write this lyrical I'll write this lyrical text, but then I will have these little panels, which is what they were at first, but now they're just pages of information that goes deeper into, yeah, exactly, that goes deeper into what I want to communicate. And so it went from night to day, A to Z. I don't know. As far as you can think from the first draft is what this final product is. It retained that one line.
And I would feel sad if we didn't call out your illustrator as well, because you got
Really?
a fantastic illustrator, Brianna Uchendu, who is a John Steptoe New Talent Award winner for her illustration, but really gorgeous art, the kind of art that I know you probably got paired with her. They had your text and they paired you, and you hit the jackpot, which is always nice.
I
Because that
think like
doesn't always happen.
I know. I was when Caitlin shared who she was looking at. Every time I look at the illustrations, I can't sing enough of Brianna's praises. I can tell you that Brianna made this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's gorgeous. Which
really
is
beautiful.
Yeah.
It feels effortless. It feels like
Mhm.
it feels like it's one person. It feels like
Yeah, it does. It does. And so, of course, now I
And
must turn
I
the
can't
question.
imagine.
Okay.
Oh, to me.
Yeah.
What was
Same
the question
question.
again?
The question was, how much did the final
Okay.
product resemble the earliest drafts for you?
One of the important things for me when I set out to write this was that I wanted it to be relatable, and I I knew from one or two of the other books that I had illustrated that sort of pairing nonfiction with sort of a direct sort of relationship to the reader, and maybe sort of like including humor at times was really important, and I thought was missing from a lot of the other books that I had illustrated. So when I sat down to write it, it was really sort of this voice of perhaps like Don Cornelius or someone who did a voiceover for a lot of the hair care products I used and saw when I was younger. And I've always loved that voice. That voice is something, it's not my voice because my voice sounds different, but it's a voice that I hear in my head. And so that really stayed true throughout the book. And I would say a large majority of it did. I was writing it at a time when I was illustrating many other books, and I was kind of uncertain as to how it would be received, how my agent would receive it, how it would be received in publishing, would people even like it? So there was a certain freedom I had, but then also because I had never written something like this or this long, I would take myself to a cafe every day and just write and continue to sort of write and edit. And so, and I was using all the information that I had heard from editors from books that I had illustrated previously. This is the first book that I wrote and illustrated, but I had my editor's voice on too. So I think it was really sort of helpful to have that sort of voice in my head, because honestly, very little has changed, and there are some rhyming elements, but I think that's kind of important to, and it's got a sort of musicality to it, but that's really important to the voice of the book. And so I never really had that issue where a lot of it was changed, but I think because the voice is so, the voice in the story is so entwined, you can't really separate them. And I think I'd really kind of done a lot of the editing beforehand.
Yeah, and again, I should point out the art of this book is also gorgeous, but you've done this fantastic, well, certainly you can see this on the end papers, almost like a call out to posters, historical posters of the past, and just the quality of the textures. I mean, it's just fantastic. And I just love the whole thing. The typography. I love the typography of the whole thing. So yeah, it's just fantastic work from start to finish.
Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, you mentioned the voice in your head that you had for this. I wish he could have done the audiobook for this, because I think that would be
I really do. I do have an idea of who would be a good fit. There's two people I think would be a really good fit to do the audiobook. So hopefully that'll happen. One thing that did change, though, I had filled up 2 sketchbooks with art that I thought would work well in the book, and that was really edited a lot because it was just sort of all over the place. It was kind of different styles, there was a lot of hand lettering, but different styles of hand lettering, a lot of different ideas, and so a lot of that stuff didn't really make it into the book, and me and the art director sort of had to come up with a format for the book that would sort of made sense and made everything cohesive and made it flow from chapter to chapter.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Well, just to round us out here, I want to know what you guys are working on next, and not necessarily books, but just anything. What are the projects you are working on right now? What's keeping you busy?
Okay, so mine is, I'm working on a book. And it is, I'm kind of going from, a picture book to YA. I'm working on a novel in verse hybrid, and it is different and it is fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I won't.
Can you say anything about the subject?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking too.
I know. I was like, should I say anything? Okay, so it's about this phenomenon, or this kind of myth that we have in folktale. That's more like it. This folktale that we have, it's about something called an abiku. It's a spirit, and it was a way of people kind of, yeah, trying to explain, because we have a high prevalence of sickle cell anemia in Nigeria. So it was a way of people trying to explain that, and miscarriages and losing children way too young. And so they would say, oh, families would be targeted by these abiku spirits who would come and visit them again and again and again. And so we have this class of names called Oruko Abiku, which is, so the names will be like, okay, let me give you an example. Durasimi means stay to bury me, like, which means stay with me for the rest of my life. Don't leave too soon, don't leave too early. So I'm writing, that is my main character, an Abiku spirit, and the rest is a secret.
Wow.
Okay. Ooh, sounds good. And I'm just going to cross my fingers, because Stay to Bury Me would be a really good YA name. I'm just saying.
All right. I'll take it under
It's a
advisement.
really good title. Oh man, I would read that in a hot minute. Okay. Great. And how about you, Sean?
I am working on the second book that I've written. It's also with HarperCollins. It's called The Music, the People, or potentially The Music is the People. And it's similar in that it's nonfiction. It's about African-American music and the history of it, but it's more of a picture book. It's told in very simple language. And it sort of starts from the origins of Black music in America and goes up to contemporary times. But it really talks about how music helps people get through their sorrows, and how it helps people celebrate the good times, and really how it's been this powerful and unique force that's not only animated American culture, but has really had this global impact.
That's great.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know that we have a lot on. We have music, but it usually will just go on a single genre. It won't tend to show scope. So that's great. Wonderful.
Oh, now I want to read it.
Exactly. This is the problem with me asking this question. And I'm like, great, give it to me now. I want to see
I'm
it.
in the process. I just got approval to work on the final art for the cover. So it's getting there. It's almost done.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you both enough for taking the time to talk to me today. Your books are amazing. And just to remind people, the books are Hairstory and Fros, Fades, and Braids. Thank you both, Sope and Sean, for joining me. I'm so pleased.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here. Such a pleasure to meet you, Shakpa. I'm so excited about your book and getting my copy of it as well.
Me too, for both of yours.
Oh, well, okay. And your second one, or your YA when it comes out.
Exactly.
What's the working title again?
Well, now I want to call it Stay to Bury Me, but before I was Born to Die, because that's literally what Abiku means.
Wow.
Also, you can get the Lana Del Rey fans, because Born to Die is a Lana Del Rey song.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
Stay to Bury Me. Thank you, Betsy. This was fun.
This was fun.
A lot of fun. Thank you so much, both of you.